Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Wednesday, July 31st edition of the MMAOB Daily podcast. I'm your host, as always, Adam Martin. I'll be taking you guys through the latest in the world of mixed martial arts. Guys, follow me on Twitter at MMAdamMartin. This podcast is available always at MMAOddsbreaker.com, on our YouTube channel, MMA Oddsbreaker. Like, share, and subscribe. Tell your friends about it. Also, check me out at bjpenn.com and MMARanks.net. I'll be talking about the Contender series today, a couple of fight announcements, and one fighter from the Contender series was just popped for steroids, so I want to mention that. But first thing I want to say is apparently the Google Hangouts on air is going away tomorrow from YouTube, so there might be some hiccups tomorrow as far as the stream goes. I'm going to try using the YouTube webcam. I think that should be okay, but we'll see how that goes tomorrow. Apparently, you can only have one person on camera at once, so I'm not 100% sure how that's going to work for the preview podcast when I get Cole Shelton on, but I'll figure it out for next week. Speaking of Cole, myself and Cole just did the podcast yesterday, breaking down UFC Newark. We did the full picks for that card. I think it was 12 fights, so check that out. It's on yesterday's show as well as check that out. And I broke down the Contender series with him. I wasn't able to get to it on my regular show, but we saw it last night, so let's get right into it today. Contender series, Dana White's Contender series 22 took place last night at the UFC Apex in Las Vegas. Decently entertaining card for sure. I mean, there were some crazy finishes on this card as usual. Like, it seems like this whole season there's been a lot of just nutty finishes, and this card was no exception to that. Let's just get right into it. I'll start with the bottom, work my way up. First fight of the night, Rodrigo Nascimento defeats Michael Martinick via first round submission with an arm triangle choke. I did pick Nascimento yesterday in the podcast. I thought he was a good value as a dog. However, he did close as a favorite, so apparently people were just betting on this guy. Not 100% sure why. I mean, maybe there was some injury to Martinick people found out about. It's kind of weird that he went from such a big favorite to an underdog at the last second. I mean, there was definitely value in Nascimento, I think, as a dog, but strange the line flipped so much. But either way, Nascimento wins. Dana White rewarded him with the contract. Hard to say he didn't deserve it. I mean, the guy's undefeated right now at 7-0, all 7 wins by stoppage. He's good on the ground, as we know. We didn't see much stand out of him, which would have been nice to see, but what are you going to do? I mean, the guy took the guy down and beat him up on the ground and finish with submission. Great finish. Deserving of UFC deal for sure. So good signing by Dana. Apparently he has a fight lined up already for an August card. I'm not 100% sure what card that is or who he's fighting, but I'm assuming there's some injury to someone coming up, or possibly maybe he's fighting on that China card that needed fights. So we'll see what happens there. I'm assuming that will be announced in the next couple of days. Next up, Daniel Rodriguez beats Rico Farrington via unanimous decision. This was the one fight where the fighter did not get a contract. Not spoiling anything, but there you go. Rodriguez pulls out the unanimous decision win, but it really just, I don't know, it was an okay fight, but it just didn't really satisfy Dana White. And I don't think anyone watched that fight thinking, okay, this guy needs to be in the UFC. Like, it was an okay fight. He got the win. He's 9-1 now. Maybe he deserves another shot in the Contender series, but as far as the UFC contract goes, yeah, I don't think based on this performance he deserved it. So I think good job on Dana for passing on this one. Like, you know, no offense to the guy or anything. Like, you always want to see guys reach their dreams and their goals, and that's to fight in the UFC. But really, I mean, he is on a 5-fight win streak, but the wins before that were all by stoppage, and he goes to the Contender series and wins the decision. You got to win by stoppage pretty much, or put on a fight of the year, fight of the night kind of candidate. And that wasn't the case in this fight. He got the job done, but I think he's going to need another win or two to get it back in the UFC, but we'll see what happens there. Next up, we had Tracy Cortez defeat Maria Agapova via unanimous decision. She gets a contract as well. Tracy Cortez did not get to finish in this fight, but the UFC women's flyweight division definitely needs new fighters and new blood. So I think a good signing. She was very dominant in this fight, looked really good. She has some good experience fighting in Invicta. And like Dana White said, her story, it obviously affected Dana. It got to him. So good signing, I think, here. I mean, that division needs fighters. So even though she didn't get the finish, there's not really that many finishes at women's 125 anyways. I think this was a pretty good signing just based on how she looked in this fight. She looked really good. Next up, this was absolutely insane. Elon Cruz defeats Stephen Wynn via third-round flying knee at 4:36 of round 3. I mean, this was absolutely insane. More of like a jumping knee, but my God, what a knockout. How many flying knees are we seeing these days? Like, Masvidal started the trend. Since Masvidal's had it, I think we've had 3 of them on the Contender series alone. So just crazy knockout, crazy fight too. I mean, great fight. Both guys were just going to war, standing and banging here. Stephen Wynn's definitely a good fighter. I think he'll get another shot in the Contender series maybe next year. But Elon Cruz, man, I mean, this guy, wow, great performance here. He was an underdog in this fight. He looked amazing. He's on a 4-fight win streak right now. Guy's good, man. I mean, you looked at his record. You looked at some of the opponents he's fought. You're like, I don't know. Wow. I mean, what a performance here. What a knockout. great signing by the UFC, and this guy's good. I'm looking forward to seeing what's next for him. He's definitely an interesting fighter to watch. And finally, main event of the evening, Alexa Kimura defeats Fabio Cherant. Again, flying knee and ground and pound. 48 seconds of round 2. He nailed this guy with a flying knee, took him down and started pounding on him, and the referee had to step in and stop the fight. So another great performance by Kimura, 5-0 now. He's Stipe Mios's training partner. Stipe called Dana White during the show or right after the finish and like, you got to sign this guy. I think based on that finish, Dana was going to anyways, but that, wow, that was insane. So they took 4 fighters. And again, I mean, they're signing so many fighters this season. So guys are going to start being cut. You're going to start seeing a lot of these fights where guys are on 2-fight losing streaks and they're going to be released from the UFC. So it is what it is. I mean, you got to, if you want to bring in talent, you got to send some out. That's the business we're in. So unfortunately, there's going to be a lot of fighters being cut from the UFC, I think, in the coming months to make room for these Contender Series guys. But I mean, based on their performances, like a lot of these guys really deserve these contracts. One guy that got a contract, and this is a good segue, and was released, Antonio Trocoli. So this guy was on the Contender Series a few weeks ago. Picked up a great win, first round submission. I believe he beat that guy with the tattoos. I'm just going to pull it up again. What's his name? Yeah, Kenneth Berg. He beat the guy with all those tattoos. Submitted him in the first round of the neck crank, and the UFC signed him. And it was a good signing. I mean, the guy was on a nice win streak, and he looked really good in that fight. Now he tests positive for steroids, and the UFC released him. And I can't blame him. I mean, the guy flagged for USADA just a week after or 2 weeks after being signed. I mean, this is a great cut by the UFC, of course. Like, you can have guys that are testing positive in the Contender Series, and that just, looking forward to when they're actually in the UFC, you can't think that they wouldn't test positive again or, something like that. So unfortunately, this guy is talented, but they had to cut him. So we'll see what happens. His manager, Lucas, and I want to talk about him in a second as well. He said that the UFC is working with USADA right now to figure out what happened. But, I mean, every time a guy gets caught for steroids, they're like, oh, I don't know what happened. I must have taken a supplement. When is someone actually going to say, listen, I got caught. I want to get in the UFC, and I was using steroids? It is what it is. So this guy was released. Trocoli is cut. I feel bad for Berg. I mean, I'm assuming, I don't know, actually, maybe that fight will change to a no contest. I'm not 100% sure if this was out of competition or random, or I should say in competition or out of competition. But, I feel bad for Berg. I mean, that fight was 2 weeks ago or 2.5 weeks ago. And man, that's just really sad stuff. So poor guy. I mean, he gets submitted and by a guy just got caught using steroids. So we'll see what happens. Maybe that's going to be overturned to a no contest. Maybe Berg will get another shot. But yeah, Trocoli out of the UFC. Couple fight announcements here. And like I mentioned, Lucas, Johnny Walker's manager. He's the guy I had dinner with back in Brazil in May. Awesome guy. One of his clients, of course, Johnny Walker. And Johnny Walker is going to be fighting Corey Anderson at UFC 244. This fight is basically confirmed now. Great fight. Love this matchup. Makes so much sense. And Corey Anderson, he went from calling out John Jones a few days ago to change his focus to Johnny Walker. And this fight makes so much more sense. Both guys are pretty much in the same spot in the division. Maybe Corey Anderson's ranked a little bit higher because he's fought better competition, but Johnny Walker has looked amazing lately. Let's start with Corey Anderson here. He's on a 3-fight win streak, 9-2 in the UFC, beat Ilir Latifi, Klobuchar, and Patrick Cummins last 3 fights. Has not fought since December. He's been waiting for a big fight, did not get it. But you know what? Credit to this guy. He's like, you know what? I need to get another fight in before the end of the year. Takes on Johnny Walker, who is returning after that injury he basically committed on himself against Mish Serkinov at the end of the fight, doing the worm thing. Basically blew his shoulder out. But he's on a 9-fight win streak right now. He's 3-0 in the UFC. He knocked out Khalil Roundtree, Justin Ledet, and Misha Serkinov in less than 3 minutes combined. So this guy is an absolute monster. Great personality. He's won 3 performance bonuses already in UFC. He's awesome, man. Johnny Walker's great. This is going to be an awesome fight. Corey Anderson's the kind of guy that can take Johnny Walker out of his element. He's very tough. He's very good at wrestling. He's very good at grinding fights. So he's good at taking fights into his own element and just slowing the pace down. But Johnny Walker is such an explosive talent and so much knockout power and submission ability as well, which we haven't seen in the UFC, but he has shown that in the past. This is going to be a great fight. I kind of lean towards Johnny Walker, though. I just think with that knockout power and against Corey Anderson, who's been finished a few times by KO, I think that's a problem for sure. But Corey Anderson has the skill set to make this an interesting fight. So really good matchmaking. And the winner of this fight could easily get a title shot. Jan Blachowicz is out there calling for it against John Jones, but does anyone really want to see Jan Blachowicz versus John Jones? I don't know. I'm not sure about that. Dominic Reyes is fighting Chris Weidman. The winner of that fight, I'd assume, would also be in the mix for the title shot. But at this point, they need new contenders for John Jones, and the winner of Walker versus Anderson will absolutely be a contender. And speaking of contenders, we'll move down to the women's flyweight division, and this is another great fight. Maycee Barber will be taking on Gillian Robertson at UFC Boston. I'm surprised they did this fight, but I love the matchup. I mean, both just two great fighters. First off, Maycee Barber, 7-0, 21 years old. She's looked amazing in the UFC, as we know. Hannah Cipher, she knocked out. JJ Aldrich, she knocked out. She's won 6 of her 7 pro fights by stoppage. She is awesome. Taking on Gillian Robertson here, who, again, is another finisher at 125. She's looked fantastic. She's 7-3 in her MMA career, including a 4-1 record in the UFC, back-to-back stoppage wins over Sarah Froda and Veronica Macedo. UFC clearly likes her. I like her too. She's really talented. This is a tough fight to call. Maycee Barber definitely has the edge in the stand-up, but on the ground, I think Gillian Robertson has the edge. So whoever can dictate where this fight takes place will win this fight. I kind of lean towards Barber. I just think she really is the future of that division, but it could be one of those situations where Robertson's a little ahead of her right now and does win this fight, but in the future, we do see Barber, take that next leap. I don't know. This is a really tough fight to call. Great matchmaking here by the UFC. Surprised they did it. You don't typically see them do young prospects against each other, but the UFC clearly likes both these girls, and maybe they think that hey, the winner of this fight could get a title shot against the winner of Shevchenko and Carmouche too. That's possible, right? That division is still very, very new. So I like the matchmaking here. Good fight. I really like the UFC's matchmaking. They did a really good job with it. What else? There's a couple other things here. How about Michael Bisping? He says he was injured heading to the GSP fight. This is worth mentioning. He wants a rematch with GSP, but I don't think that's ever going to happen. He thinks he's going to win the rematch as well. But, this is it's another instance of a guy losing a fight and then saying later on that he was hurt. Dan Hooker said that Al Iaquinta ducked him. That fight will probably not be happening, although I really like that matchup. Doesn't look like it's going to happen. What else? I think that's about it. That's about worth mentioning. Also, there's an article. Oh yeah, I was at Emelianenko. He's apparently coming back to bare knuckle fighting. I don't know what to say about this. I mean, you can just read his backstory. I mean, the guy's got a lot of issues going on, and he also has some sort of issue with hepatitis B. So apparently, anyways, so that could be a huge issue as well as visa issues. So I don't know. Like, they signed him apparently. I thought it was a joke a few weeks ago when they said it was really Rumble versus Emelianenko, but it looks like Emelianenko actually is being signed. So that's kind of interesting, I guess. But I don't know. I'm not 100% sure about the bare knuckle thing, guys. As you know, I'm not totally buying into it. I mean, I don't know. It's not MMA. It's not boxing. It's something in between. I don't necessarily like it. I don't hate it, but it's not really something that tickles my fancy, I guess. Anyways, guys, I think that's all I want to talk about today. I'll be back tomorrow as always, breaking down whatever else news happens today. I'm sure there's going to be some crazy stuff happening. There always is in the world of MMA. But until then, you can check me out on Twitter at MMAOB. This podcast is available at MMAOddsbreaker.com and our YouTube channel. Like, share, and subscribe, guys. Also, check me out at bjpenn.com and MMAranks.net. I appreciate you guys tuning in. Check out the podcast myself and Cole Shelton did yesterday, breaking down UFC Newark. I'm looking forward to that card on Saturday afternoon. It's going to be a good one. Guys, have a great day. I'll be back tomorrow morning breaking down the latest in the world of MMA.